Adam Lerner, BrooklynPhotoworks.com, and today I want to talk to you about the mentality of a photo shoot and when you need to think outside of the box. I know that that sounds like a cliche, but it is really important when you're in a situation in a photo shoot and you do not get too locked into any one particular idea. Now, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do your homework and come up with a plan, because I know that when I go to do a photo shoot, I come up with plan A, B, C, sometimes D, E, and F, but I come up with at least 3 different possibilities for the way I'm going to shoot something. I think about the location, I think about the subject, I think about the equipment and settings and time of day, so many different things, and I try to come up with a plan, or I do come up with a plan, so that when I get on location, I'm able to start shooting and executing right away. However, things do change. So I went on a photo shoot recently with my good friend Tim Harney, who's a custom motorcycle builder in Brooklyn, and we went to shoot this little 1951 custom BSA that he did a gorgeous job of building. And we went out, and a bunch of the locations that we tried to shoot at, we couldn't even access because Brooklyn has gotten completely out of control to the point where all the little sweet spots where we used to bring the bike along the waterfront are now being completely developed to the point where we can't get there. So I had this idea to shoot underneath the elevated highway, the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, because I thought that it would be interesting with the steel girders and it would kind of give it a nice look. And the bike, because the bike is so shiny, I thought that having some kind of a dark background would offset the shiny bits to really let them pop into the front of the screen. So we got the bike to the location, and I'm going to show you what we ended up doing, or what we did to end up getting the final shot that we ultimately went with, and the set that we shot, and the series of different tries that we did in order to get there. And basically what I'm trying to say is that we did not let any of this get us stuck to the point where we couldn't execute the shoot. We just had to keep moving, keep going forward. And that's what I tell a lot of photographers, is that if you feel stuck, if you're on a shoot and you feel stuck and you can't get something to work, then it is time to redirect, come up with another idea. Look up, look down, look to the side, just walk around the perimeter of the area that you're in and try to find another way to see what it is you're going to try to execute, and that might end up even turning out to be better than what you originally set out to do. All right, so this image that we've had up here on the screen, this is that gorgeous 1951 custom BSA motorcycle that Tim built. And I say little because it's actually pretty short in stature. I don't even think that it would be ideal for somebody like me to ride. Not that I'm a big guy, but 6 feet, this is a very tiny bike. Hard to tell from the photo, but it's absolutely gorgeous, you can see. And what we have here is we've got this beautiful natural shaft of light that literally was coming off of the highway. So the highway is back here. There's an off-ramp over here. It's hard to tell, and I'll show you guys a little bit more. And then there was this one little shaft of light coming down here, and I saw this, and there was nobody in these parking spots, and it just worked. It created a beautiful way to light the bike and a beautiful gradient so that it would offset the bike on this background. So how did we get here? All right, here's where we originally offloaded the bike. So if you can imagine, okay, we are behind us here. This is the truck that we just drove in on, took this thing down the ramp, and the idea was to try to shoot this thing in such a way so that we could kind of get this really kind of interesting structural background and these girders and give it that industrial vibe, because it is, he is a Brooklyn-based motorcycle builder. But as you guys can see, it's very, very busy. There's all kinds of light things going on here. There's overexposed bits over here. There's underexposed. There's garbage. It's just nasty. There's people hanging out. There's cars. So obviously this did not work. So what did we try next? Well, what we did is we moved the bike perpendicular to where we had it parked just a minute ago, because again, I'm trying to work on the gradient, okay? We've got light coming in from the street right here, and then as the light goes under the BQE, it falls off and it becomes darker, which is the same principle when you're using artificial light. It's the same thing. Light will fall off very quickly as you move away from your light source. So had there not been a couple of cars parked here, in fact, this one was here, and then this guy came in and parked, And this garbage, which I probably could have deleted in Photoshop, it could have been interesting, but I don't love the look of this really filthy curb and then this other little curb cut here, and it didn't quite work. I mean, it has some cool elements, but it didn't quite work. So then we moved the bike, and here we go. This is the off-ramp part. So the off-ramp is adjacent to the highway. This is the part that takes you right down to where we were. And this was, I guess, a concrete wall on the back lip of that. And, you know, it's kind of clean. It's got some cool kind of elements to it. You know, I'm not crazy about that. I probably could have popped that out in post as well. I like the light gradient that we had going on here, but the bike gets lost. You don't really see all those really gorgeous, shiny, beautiful details. Then we tried this shot. So now, rather than shooting from the street into the bottom side of the underpass, we took it to the complete other side of the underpass where that shaft of light was hitting. And I love the way the bike is lit. So if you can kind of, oh, hey, sorry guys, let me get back there. If you can kind of, you know, forget about the top bit here, the way that the light is hitting the bike, the shaft of light, which I could not have made up, really looks fantastic. But this background, this overblown background with these kind of miscellaneous modern cars and the writing on the wall and the windows, it's just so busy and so distracting, it does not work. So obviously we had to keep thinking. And I'm thinking and I'm thinking and I'm thinking, and I'm like, all right, let's move it off of the parking area onto this wide sidewalk. This girder here is part of the off-ramp that I was telling you about. And it's a little bit cleaner, you know, we were able to get the focus to the point where the background would kind of, you know, drift off a little bit so you kind of see cars and buildings, but there's still just a lot going on. It's taking away from the bike. So then what I did is I stood up and I kind of just shot somewhat down on the bike. And because it's a short bike, I was able to shoot down on the bike and be able to use that shaft of light to light the bike and then use the parking lot to basically frame the bike. And because of where I was shooting, I was able to get this fantastic gradient, this blackness in the background, this white to black, which is just gorgeous, and it really highlights the bike. And Tim was incredibly happy. I was incredibly happy. Granted, it was also about 35 degrees out, and we'd been at this for about an hour, so we were both incredibly relieved to find this. And then what we did, and what I did, is I just walked around the bike. I shot the bike from different angles. I had Tim rotate the bike to just get a bunch of different images, and here's just a handful to show you guys. And all we were doing is lighting this bike with that shaft of light that, like I said, existed between the off-ramp and the overhead of the highway. There was a little tiny area where the two didn't connect and light passed through, and it just created this beautiful light. And the resulting images really came out great, and we couldn't be happier with them. And we know that a lot of motorcycle magazines and blogs are going to be picking these images up, which I will definitely share with you guys. But I just wanted to show you how this evolution happened and how not to get too frustrated when something isn't working. You just have to continue working at it. So there you go, guys. When you're in a situation where you're really trying hard to get a shot and you had this vision in your mind and the vision isn't working, move on. I know that there's times when you just want to see that idea get executed, but if it doesn't work, try something different and it might actually end up turning better. And in this case, that's certainly what happened. And this happens all the time because as photographers, we're technicians, but we are also problem solvers. And there you go. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and we'll see you soon.